Aloha and welcome to the virtual Live at the Legislature. I'm Carolyn Tanaka, and joining me this morning are two representatives from the west side of Hawaii Island. Representative Nicole Lowen, she represents Kailua Kona, and Representative David Tarnas, he represents North Kona and North and South Kohala. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us this morning. It's been about a month since the legislature recessed because of the shelter-in-place order, but I know that the work continues and that the two of you have been very busy in your communities. Tell me, first of all, Representative Lowen, how are the people in your area holding up?
Obviously, this is a really stressful time for a lot of people. As everyone's aware, Hawaii has one of the highest unemployment rates in the nation, if not the highest. And Kailua Kona and West Hawaii is particularly an area dependent on tourism. So a lot of people have been laid off and lost their jobs. So I think they're trying to be patient, but it's challenging.
How about you, Representative Tarnas? Same thing?
We're certainly in the same situation. A lot of folks in the visitor industry that have been laid off. And so people are very worried about how to get unemployment insurance benefits. And that's been a real challenging process because so many people have been applying. 1 out of every 3 people working in the state are unemployed. And so the numbers that are applying for unemployment benefits is overwhelming the department. And so the delays in getting benefits is a huge issue. We've got a lot of farmers in the area here in Waimea and then Kohala, and they were growing for the hotels and the restaurants, and those are closed. So we're doing everything we can to try to connect individual consumers to the farmers so that they can buy direct, and also so we can have the purchase from farmers to give to the food basket and others, because there's a lot of food insecurity here, and we're trying to help out folks who really need it most.
So, Representative Lowen, I did say earlier that the two of you, I know, have been very active in your communities. I'm getting information now. What are some of the things that you've been doing?
A lot of it's just getting information out through email blasts and through social media, responding to people's concerns via email, trying to help them navigate the assistance programs that are available through the state and through the new Federal CARES Act. So it's really been a fire hose of information. We're trying to go through everything and distill out what's helpful and push it out to our constituents in a way that's easier for them to understand. So that is, a big piece of it. And then, behind the scene, we're also still working on, with the rest of our colleagues on the response at the state level and talking about, different issues like agriculture and economic recovery, et cetera.
Well, I do know that since you've been home, the Kona area in particular has been hit. I think that Maui had a cluster at Maui Memorial, and now the Representative Lowen, this is your area, I think, been hit with a COVID cluster. How's that going?
I think that is now up to 30 people that they've identified as positive between the employees of the different McDonald's locations and their families. We know the Department of Health says they're working on the contact tracing, and getting testing done of anyone who might have been exposed. So now is really the time for everyone to be extra careful, also to prevent further spread in our community as we wait further test results, to stay home if you can, if you must go out, to wear a mask, to remember to wash your hands thoroughly and frequently. There's also, if anyone is feeling ill, there's free testing in Kona on Mondays and Thursdays from 8 to noon at Keoho Shopping Center. And then I guess the other comment I would have is I think this situation really exposes the increased vulnerability of certain groups in our community. If you're a food service worker and you're considered essential, you have to go to work and you may not get paid sick leave. and you may not be able to afford to take the days off. And so I think that and then on top of it, we have our affordable housing issues where we have multiple families, multiple generations, sometimes living in very small dwellings, and those are ideal conditions for the spread of the virus. So that's something to keep in mind as we move forward when we have situations like this, that the other weaknesses in our safety net and in our system and economy here in Hawaii do make certain groups more vulnerable to this than others. And I think that we can see it a little bit with this cluster in Kona right now.
Representative Tarnas, we are beginning to see kind of a flattening. People are starting to talk more about maybe reopening. The governor has said that we are not quite ready yet. How do you envision reopening?
I think we really need to follow a very methodical path, and I would encourage folks to watch the House Special Committee on COVID-19 economic and financial preparedness meetings every Monday at 10. We get updates on what the process will be, and we really have to follow carefully what these plans would be. We have to develop a capacity for screening, for testing, and when identifying who is positive, for contact tracing, and to isolate those who are positive. And we've got to have a strong system in place before, as we start to open up. We about a month away is what the estimates are that Alan Oshima and Mark Mugiishi, who are both on that COVID committee for the House, have told us. And we need to really follow their path. The General Hara, who is leading our effort here, has a real good methodical approach to this. And I think, we've got to build our capacity. Right now, people want to get their businesses open. So as we do that, we're going to have to make sure that the employees are practicing social distancing, they have their masks, and all the customers have to do that. Everybody wants to start opening, but we have to do it carefully so we don't see another spike in positive cases, because then we'll go back into our isolation again. So transparency of government decision-making is so important. Information on current status is so important. But as Representative Lowen said, we've got to take care of our own health and of the health of those who are most vulnerable. And while we can't talk to each other in person, we can call each other. And I'd say that if nothing else, this has brought us together to use technology, teleconferencing, video conferencing. I mean, our Hawaii Island delegation is meeting regularly by video conference and are really pulling together and building a strong solidarity in our approach. So that's strengthened. Everybody's asking for improved internet access now. So I think we're all learning that we need that.
Well, you know what? I don't like to talk all gloom and doom. I mean, there are some, as you just said, there are some positive things that have come out of it. We will have to do things differently, but that may not be so bad. So before we go out on a gloom and doom scenario, do any of you have any stories you can tell us of acts of kindness, good works that you have seen, either yourself or anything like that? What about you, Representative Lowen?
Oh, I mean, it's been incredible to see how the community has come together to, make sure everybody has enough to eat, to make face masks, the homemade face masks to distribute to people for free, to check on their neighbors and help kapuna, etc. So I think that, Hawaii Island really has a strong sense of community, and that's one of our strengths, and it makes us more resilient. And we've seen that very clearly here. So yeah, that is a good thing. Okay, what about you, Representative Tarnas?
There are bright spots, and it is really, as Representative Lowen said, it's people who are helping others, whether it's community meals being offered by local churches or organizations. And I put out my e-newsletter regularly, and I try to include some positive stories in there, because we're going to need, pull together so we can come out of this and build an economy again to be stronger and more resilient, diversified, because we'll have this virus with us for a long time. And so we'll need to manage carefully, but build a stronger community as we come out of it.
Well, thank you, both of you, for joining us this morning. It's a daunting task ahead, but as you say, Big Island people know how to work hard. They've been through this before, and we look to you to help us lead the way. Thank you, both of you, for joining us this morning, and to all of you, aloha. See you next Tuesday.
Thank you.
Thank you. Aloha.
Aloha.
Aloha and welcome back to Live at the Legislature, our weekly look inside the Hawaii State Capitol. I'm the Senate's Director of Communications, Jesse Broder Van Dyke. Coming to us live this morning from Waianae is Senator Maile Shimabukuro. She represents Oahu's leeward coast from Kaleloa to Kaena Point. Thank you so much for joining us, Senator Shimabukuro. How is the COVID-19 response going on the leeward coast so far?
It's similar to, what the Hawaii Island delegation said. We're very fortunate out in Waianae. It's a very isolated community. We're very close knit, and there's just so many acts of kindness all the time. It's funny because I live with my parents who are, getting on in age, and what we say now is we just have to wait. We don't even have to leave the house because things just arrive at our doorstep. Just the other day, Ms. Ka'aikuahivi, who's my mom's kupuna class teacher, dropped off 3 cloth face masks that looks like she made herself, this beautiful aloha print kind. We have people, bringing food all the time to us, and just people always checking in, to see if we need anything, see if we're okay. And so very, very grateful. And then this really has brought the community closer.
It's wonderful to hear about all the acts of kindness and people coming together to go through this. Yesterday, you held a virtual town hall meeting with Leeward Coast representatives, the lieutenant governor, city officials, state officials. What kind of questions did you get?
Well, it was a fascinating meeting, and the first time I've done something like that to that scale, to have a Zoom meeting that big. And a lot of really interesting questions came out. And one of the ones I wanted to highlight is a mother that contacted us, really concerned about her son, who's a self-employed independent contractor, and who's applied for unemployment and got a denial notice, but oddly telling him that don't file an appeal and just to wait, because of course we've all heard on the news that even if you're self-employed, a business owner, whatever, you're going to be now eligible for unemployment. But yet she's not getting any answers, can't get through. And so fortunately, I connected with my staff member, Rich Levine, who's volunteering at the unemployment office is going to set up a new emergency satellite at the convention center. And he said in the training that they had yesterday, what they found out was that even though, you get a denial notice, people like him, if you're self-employed, are eligible for the federal unemployment benefits. And just to hang on because the state is working on the software and everything to allow people to apply for those federal unemployment benefits. So that is in the works. And I know the mom was really relieved to hear that was the case. And what I also shared with her is that I recently learned from the Department of Human Services that due to the COVID-19 crisis, they are not going to count unemployment benefits as income for families with children, which in this case, he does have a child. And so I advised her, go to the DHS office nearest her, which here in Waianae is at Waianae Mall, and he can apply for cash assistance for families. It's called TANF. And even though he has a pending unemployment claim, whatever, and if he gets unemployment, it won't count as income.
And yes, so there's been quite a big backlog of unemployment claims, and I understand some of your staff are joining a couple dozen Senate staffers who volunteered to help the DLIR get through that backlog.
Yes, yes. So I believe what was said by LG Green yesterday is that there's going to be 500 kiosks at this new emergency satellite at the convention center. And I believe it goes online on Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
And so, that's hopefully going to really help people out, to get over there and finally be able to get through. And I know that DLIR also set up a new web link where you can go directly to your claim status. And I've seen people use it. You got to, so you click on it and you enter your social security number and your password and everything, and then you can at least see what's going on with your claim. So I know they're making every effort, but I know it's very, very frustrating and stressful for so many people out there.
It really is an unprecedented situation with over a third of all the citizens of Hawaii filing for unemployment in a single month. So we appreciate everyone's patience as they work through that. You're also the chair of the Hawaiian Affairs Committee, and the Senate had to abruptly recess the session. We're still hoping to come back in, but it's unclear. What was your committee working on, that had to be paused for this crisis?
Well, one of the big concerns is the Department of Human Services, has pending, commissioners, Hawaiian Homes commissioners that need to be appointed. And I kind of got a panicked email from DHHL because they said, if they don't confirm these commissioners, they're going to not have quorum. But we contacted Senate Clerk and they said that, don't worry, we're not the only committee with this issue. So they're working on a solution. And all of us really are just having to really kind of make this up as we go. But of course, we don't want government functions and the Hawaiian Homelands Department to be at a standstill. And so we will find a way, I'm sure, to extend these commissioners. But one of the other things that came up during the meeting that having to do with culture is that people are very concerned because, as we know, all state and city parks have been shut down. And so fishermen, Hawaiian culture gatherers, surfers, paddlers, whatever, are saying, well, what's going on now? So what HPD explained at the meeting last night is that their interpretation is that you can't park in the beach parking lots. And so if you're in the actual beach parking lot, they're told to ticket you, which people have gotten tickets. However, he said you can be dropped off at the beach, or what I do when I go to Makaha is I don't park in the beach parking lot, but I just go kind of beyond it and I park by the apartments or further past, and then I just have to walk a little further, but I can still surf. And so that's an important thing to get out there, that, your beaches are still accessible. I know that DOT and DLNR have had to block off, many parking lots, Kula'ila'i, Makua, and Keawa'ula are all blocked off for parking, but you can still go to the beach. You can go in the ocean, but you can't sunbathe and congregate on the sand. So important clarification there.
Yeah. So the key thing is, people aren't allowed to hang out and congregate on the beach, but they're allowed to access the ocean for surfing or fishing or kayaking or whatever ocean activities.
Yes, and I know that we're running out of time, and I wanted to just make it known that, Malama Makua and Waianae Store are teaming up again this Saturday. They're going to be the face mask distribution at the Waianae Store parking lot from 4 to 7 p.m. April 25th. And they're selling them at cost. So 12 masks for $10, and try to have cash and exact change. And it's a really good cause, and I wanted to put a big shout out to Malama Makua, and Waianae Store. Waianae Store donated 2,000 masks when they first put the order in, just to give away to Kupuna. And so that was very successful. But make sure you catch that. And also in our community, Lili'uokalani Trust is very active on the Waianae Coast. They have an emergency fund for those facing financial hardship. So they put the word out that if you have a Hawaiian child in your household, 0 to 17, and you're directly impacted by the COVID crisis financially, call them for possible financial emergency help. And their number is 466-8102. 466-8102. I'm sorry. Yeah, 466-8102.
Okay. And we'll post that on our Hawaii Senate Facebook page as well.
Yes, yes.
And
So-
could you repeat again when and where the masks are available?
Okay, so it's going to be this Saturday, April 25th, 4 to 7 p.m. at Waianae Store. And it's 12 masks for $10. And it's Malama Makua and Waianae Store are doing this joint project to really make sure, because, as we know, the laws came out that if you go to any kind of business or essential travel, you have to be wearing a mask or you'll get fined. So make sure you take advantage of that.
Thank you so much. Oh yeah, mahalo to everyone in the community who's helping out with that effort. And I know you and your staff are still working, so if anybody needs help, they can contact your office. And last
Yes.
night's entire town hall meeting is available on your Facebook page, so we can go
Yes.
back there and check it out. Unfortunately, we're out of time, but thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thanks so
Mahalo
much to Olelo and Jesse for putting this on.
Thank you, Senator. Aloha.
Thank you. Thank you.
Aloha, and welcome back to Live at the Legislature. I'm Kyle Aloha Lindsay with the Legislative Minority. Our guest this morning, live from Eva Beach, is Representative Bob McDermott. He represents House District 40 and is a member of the House Select Committee on Economic and Financial Preparedness. Rep. McDermott, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, good morning, Kyle. And first, before we begin, I want to thank you and all the guys there at Olelo behind the scenes who've been up early this morning working just so we can come out here once a week and say a few words. So thank you guys, and you Olelo guys, you know who you are. Thanks, Mr. Green.
Absolutely, they've been doing a great job. It's been about a month since we've had you on. It was the day after the Capitol closed when we last had you live at the Capitol. Can you just give us an update of how things have been with you and your community since then?
Sure. So we got an email this morning. Somebody said, "Where are you guys?" We are offering assistance and suggestions to the governor through written communication. I'm on the committee. We come up with written communications, also suggestions. One of the things we're looking at is how to get visitors here safely, because as you see, we have over 30% unemployment. How do we get the visitors back into the hotels, the people back working, all virus free, right? That's what we want to do. So we're kicking around some ideas on arrivals being pre-tested or testing when they arrive. And the quarantine issue is a quarantine with no teeth. So we've got to have some problems with that. At least I did. I do think it was helpful. Some of the things that didn't really happen were the prisoner early release. On one hand, you want to arrest people for walking on the beach. The other, we'll just let out the meth addict, right? Let him back out in the streets. It didn't make any sense. And I think that gotten beaten back pretty good.
How have things been in your district?
So
how's
the food
response been? How's everyone been coping?
Well, what we're providing them is information, tangible things, websites. I've talked to several small businessmen about how to get those loans, where to go to apply for them. What you're seeing at the deck plate level, if you will, is the interest in the food banks. Food pantries are seeing a huge uptick in the people coming to them. And so that's been a concern. We have a couple that operate here in Eva Beach, and they're doing good work. And so that's what I can see visually. Everybody's just kind of, in a hunkered down mode, wait and see.
And you had mentioned tourism as part of your work on the committee. What is some of the written communication that you've done with the governor, and what are some ideas to open up the economy?
Well, Rep. Ward and I have been working together diligently on this. We want people to be tested 48 hours prior to departure from the mainland or wherever they're coming from. And if they're not tested, once they arrive, the governor has the authority legally, we check it out because it's a public health crisis, to test them at the airport. If they're positive, we immediately quarantine them in a secure facility overseen by the National Guard. It's real simple. And could you imagine someone test positive and then you're going to put them on a return plane with a bunch of passengers, right? I mean, it makes no sense. And so we're not testing arrivals every week. It's crazy. And we know these people aren't staying in their hotel room for 2 weeks, not going anywhere, just drinking iced tea. It ain't happening. Ray Charles could see that. So how do we convey that sense of urgency to the governor? Now imagine the huge economic impact it would have if we could say, hey, Hawaii is virus free. It's not that hard for us to get that. You're tested prior to you come here, and then you have a hotel. Every one of our employees has been tested and they're negative for COVID-19. Well, I want to stay there. Hey, let's go to Hawaii. Let's get out of New York City.
Has there been any traction with that idea, or testing has been a huge issue here?
Testing's part of it. They have this thing called the Abbott machine, which was demonstrated on television. It can, well, you know this because you helped write the letter. I'm an honest man, but they can do a test within 15 minutes. You get 400 of those machines, you can attest every arrival, and it's going to be like going through customs. There'll be a delay, but everybody will be safe, unless you have this card signed by your doctor that you got to test 48 hours before, and we can monitor that to their DEA drug prescription number. So there's minimal fraud and abuse. So has it been talked about? David Carey mentioned it yesterday, and he was quoted in the news. So Gene and I aren't the only ones with this idea. I talked to a very important leader in the tourism industry last night. He said I should push it. I mentioned it to Hawaiian Air Chief, but he had a lot on his plate, and I don't know what, thank you. I don't know what the answer was I got it other than maybe. So we'll see.
And how have the other facets of the committee been? I know they talked about agriculture yesterday, farming, restaurants. Can you talk a little bit about that as well?
Yeah, well, I was disappointed not to see the tag there, Adjutant General, because he's in charge of this whole darn thing. He was there the week before. They're starting to get to coordination, and I think we're starting to come together and understand that our mission is a path to economic recovery. And the only way we do that is fill the hotel rooms.
Absolutely. And what are some of the other projects that you've been doing in your district? We're still open for business technically. So what else have you been up to?
Well, general constituent services. But the COVID thing has really just been all encompassing. Thank you. And so, and I'm on this special committee, so it's taking up a little bit more of my time. And we're trying to come up with innovative ideas to get those hotel rooms full. Imagine if you could advertise, Hawaii is nearly virus-free. All arrivals have to be tested either prior or to when they get there. And we're a virus-free hotel. Everyone in our employees has been tested. That would be a huge economic driver. So we just got to convince the powers that be to do that. Governor Ige is a wonderful man, but a little too slow in his decision-making process. It reminds me of an old man slipping into a hot tub on a cold January morning. A little bit at a time, just a little bit. So we'll see.
We got a couple of minutes left. So do you see a timeline as far as when folks can hopefully get back to work and when something like this could be implemented?
We only have 1 minute left. The sooner the better.
1 minute left.
I don't know the availability of the Abbott machines, how many there are. I'm going to make some calls today to see, because we've got to push this forward. We can't just ask a department head to do it, because quite often they're the greatest resistance to innovation and ideas of change. We're Hawaii 2.0 concept, similar like the TSA. It's something new and different.
Any closing comments for us this morning?
No, someone just tried to call me, though. Thank you guys at Olelo. Thank you. You guys are doing a great job. I appreciate the opportunity to come on and share just for.
Excellent. Representative McDermott, thank you for joining us this morning. And thanks again to the Olelo staff and everyone here. We will see you next week. Aloha.
All right. Take care.